As in the interest of time, as James mentioned as well, we're going to try to whip through this as quick as possible so we can stay on target. But if you guys do have any other questions, if you do have anything that you need, any of the information that I'm talking about this evening, please just message us, send us an email. We can definitely send that out to you. So we are talking about multi-family investing. So that is the commercial side of the business. So what does that mean? Kind of like the last presentation that I had, we talked about what's the difference between multifamily and what's the difference between residential. And so typically 5 units and more will be under commercial financing. A couple different rules there. You can always get that video in the YouTube channel. But we'll go through it fairly quickly here tonight. And then again, if you have any questions, just please let me know. So I'm going to share my screen and we can open this up. Can everyone see my screen all right? Thumbs up. Okay, we got a thumbs up. Perfect. Beautiful. Thank you, Alexis. I don't know if you saw my thumb last time, but I gave you one as well, so I appreciate it. So similar to what you saw already on Dream and Alexis, BC and Alberta both share the same MLS system, just different boards. So this is the commercial side of the MLS. So a couple of things that we're going to do to search through finding an apartment building. We're going to be talking mostly about walk-up apartment buildings. With commercial, there's a ton of different types of properties that you can look at. We're going to be focusing on your kind of standard walk-up apartment building. So we're going to go multifamily commercial. We're going to make sure it's active. So it's anything that's currently on market. And we're going to focus only on Edmonton. So in all of Edmonton, we have a whopping 44 options. So let's open this up and see what it looks like. All right. So out of the 44 options, we have a big range of anything from 218,000 to 34 million. So depends on your budget. We got a lot of options for any investor out there. So the way that I like to typically search is going through it by days on market. So I like to try to find properties that hit the market quick, just so I can jump on the opportunities that are new and ones that are priced well. So let's look at this one. This is a fairly typical style of multifamily. So this is a sixplex. So a couple of things that we're going to look at. So number one, just when you're looking at it, I always look at price. I look at the location, try to pick the address, and then I take a look at just the quick description. So it gives us some ideas of what's happening in the building. So usually you're going to be hearing and reading about some of the upgrades, some of the advantages to the building. And sometimes the lack of information or the lack of photos also give you an identifier that maybe there's not much to talk about. Maybe it's pretty original. So going through reading the description will answer a lot of questions for most people that will just kind of tell you, let's move on with this one, or let's take a second look. Maybe let's get a pro forma. Let's go through some of the numbers. So this 6-suite building has 5 2-bedrooms suites and 1 1-bedroom suite. So suite mix, that's actually pretty decent. The more bedrooms, typically the better. If you have a building that has, say, 5 1-beds and only 1 2-bed, then you're going to be looking at what kind of tenant profile is going to be renting just a single 1-bedroom. And is that the tenant profile that you want in your building? Each suite has approximately 1,100 to 1,150 square feet with ensuite bathrooms. So again, this gives us some decent information. We can find out 11 to 1,150 square feet. Gives us a fairly decent information as far as comparing with some other properties when we start to look at some of the rental numbers. Great location in Rose, gives you a little bit of highlights of the area. Again, you don't really need to figure out what they're saying here. I always like to just focus on the map. And so once I open it up, I can take a look and gives me a fairly decent idea of what's happening and where this location is. Then we can go down and we can take a look at some of the details here. So number of stories, 3, total number of units, 6, bedrooms, 1 for the 1 beds, 5 for the 2 beds. But here's the good stuff. And so as Dream talked about for buy and hold, we look at cash flow. Same with Alexis, she was talking about cash flow. We can look at cash flow, but as a way to analyze a building, it's something that we don't typically look at when we're talking multifamily. So the big number where we're going to be focusing on here is what we call our cap rate. And so a cap rate is basically the yearly yield of that property. So if you had no mortgage, no debt financing on the property, what would be your yield? Well, this is what you would be, about 4.83%. It also tells us a little bit about the risk and reward ratio. As people say, more risk, more reward. So typically, if you have a higher cap rate, can mean a couple things. Might be a little bit more of a risky type of property. So when I'm looking at this cap rate for this building and for this location, it seems pretty low. So the way that we calculate cap rate is we're going to take our net operating income and we're going to divide it by our purchase price. So I'm just going to pull up my calculator here. All right. So we're going to take our $43,480 and our purchase price on this building is $599,900. All right. Well, that doesn't add up.
Adrian, can you make it full screen?
Yes.
Thank you.
You guys can see that okay? Okay. Just 1 second. Can you see that okay now? Thumbs up. All right. So, the cap rate that we have on what is given to us for this information is 4.83. But when we take the net operating income of 43,480 and we take a look at our purchase price of 599,900, we actually get a better cap rate. We get a higher cap rate of 7.25%. Let's do some math and let's figure this out. So I made this handy little spreadsheet, and everyone is definitely open to utilizing this. I can send it out. Can everyone see that? All right.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Dream, I believe. All right, so let's start plugging in some numbers. So we have our monthly income. So this is just based on what we have. So we have a monthly income of, well, we don't really have, they don't give us a monthly income. So let's see, we have our, so we have our gross operating income. So we're going to take our gross operating income and let's divide that out. All right. So we have 69,480 divided by 12. So they're saying that our gross operating income is 69,480, divide that by 12, so the number of months. So we have a monthly income of 5790. All right, so let's throw that in here. All right, so gross annual income, like I mentioned, 69,480 is what we're getting from the pro forma. I have a vacancy allowance. This is 3%, but we can adjust that based on location. Some of the questions that came up in the chat box also was asking about vacancy percentage and location. So we can adjust that. I'll leave it at 3% for now. Laundry income is typically something we also do receive. So for most often we do see about $12 per suite per month. So if we're getting about $12, we can times that by 6 suites, and let's times that by 12 months. And that's probably not going to work. So let's just make sure we add that in there. I'm just going to do some quick math here. So 12 times 6, 72 times by 12, 864. All right, so that adds to our total gross income. Now, property taxes. So typically when we look at property taxes, it's usually highlighted here, but again, it's something that we haven't found. So we have a handy little tool called GeoJet. This gives us some options when we look for the property. You can look at the parcel size, but there's a nice little tax button here. All right, well, this doesn't make sense. So we look at assessed value. So they say the assessed value is $52,000 and the tax amount is $440. Well, wouldn't that be nice? But so what do? If we don't have the information, how are we going to plug it in? Well, Edmonton has a nice little tax calculator. So we go to property tax estimator. So for anybody who wants this website, it's taxestimator.edmonton.ca. So we're going to go other residential. So this is for anything that has 4 or more dwellings. And we're going to put the purchase price or the list price of this property in here, and let's estimate the tax. All right, so it came in at $63.83. So we're going to go back to our spreadsheet here. 63, let's go 84. All right, insurance. So in our breakout session, Lynn was asking about insurance and wanting me to really highlight some of the information here. So for insurance, typically we would be budgeting about $250 per unit per year, which would give us about just under $2,000 for insurance. However, when I looked back after that breakout room, I took a look at what we're paying. We're paying about $1,100 a month for 24 units, which is about $550. So I'm going to bring out my calculator again. So 550 times 6, so $3,300. So let's throw that into our insurance. For utilities, typically utilities, we're going to be about $1,100 to $1,200 per unit per year. So again, I'm going to just pull that up here. So let's go 1,150 right in the middle times by 6. So about $6,900 for this guy. Repair and maintenance. All right, this one's always a tough one. So on average, we're going to utilize about 60 per unit per year as well. So we're going to 60 times 6. Sorry, 600 times 6, so 3,600. Again, we can always utilize these and just adjust them. Caretakers. So typically a caretaker costs about $40 per unit per month. So times 12. $2,880. Miscellaneous, I always have about 1,000. And then my management fee. So I'm utilizing my management fee of 5%. Now we'll change our purchase price. All right, so if we take a look at our pro forma here, adjusting some of the information, we take a look at our cap rate. So it's actually better than what we had on our kind of pro forma numbers here that we received off of Paragon. So we'd want to make sure, does this agent have a full-on pro forma? That would be the first thing I would ask. Number 2, I want to look at my numbers. What happens if your vacancy rate's more like 5? How's that going to change our number? Oh, that's positive 5. Let's go. All right. So it changes it just slightly. So we want to make sure that we are taking a look at everything that's coming into it. Then we can break down this even further. But this gives us a fairly good highlight of it. And so when we were talking about cap rate and net operating income, I made a little section over here to utilize, what is our purchase price based on our cap rate? So if somebody's like, if I'm getting this net operating income, or I'm only finding a building and it's better be a 7.5% cap. Well, how much are we going to have to buy that building in order for, if nothing else changes in our income or expenses, how much are we going to have to buy this building for to hit a 7.5 cap rate? So I really like utilizing this just because, if we were buying this building for 4.83, let's see what that purchase price would be. So if we were buying this at a 4.83 cap, we'd be paying about $817,000 for that building. So just a nice little quick analyzer here in order for us to just really perform this. So a couple other breakdowns, and again, I won't get into this, but a couple other things that we could do is, we went through these based on just what are the averages? What are we typically seeing? A lot of times when you're looking and analyzing a property, especially on commercial and multifamily, anytime you get through a pro forma, you're going to have words like actual, but most likely it's going to be estimated, projected, stabilized. Those are the words that you definitely want to pay attention to, because if you're getting your actuals, that's fantastic. But if they're always estimated or stabilized, then you have to go through the due diligence of making sure that the numbers accurately affect it. A lot of times, even for income, you have a ton of vacancy. People are like, oh yeah, you could probably rent that out for $1,200 a month. Well, is that actual, or is that you're just estimated because you're being salesy on your pro forma? And then we can break that down even further, going to Rent Faster, going into different Kijiji, Facebook Marketplace, seeing if we are getting $1,100 or $900. What are we getting for a 2-bedroom apartment in a place like Montrose? So I hope that helps everyone. I know that was quick, but we want to make sure that we're on time. So if you have any questions, please feel free to shoot it in the chat. Please let me know. I can also send out that pro forma multifamily analyzer. It's pretty simple. I just put it together pretty quickly. Again, but I don't mind sending it out. It gives you some opportunities. Just play with the numbers to see if you're changing your cap rates, changing your net operating income, changing your income and expenses, how your building's performing.